Karen lady told me I was entitled for having a camper because I wouldn't loan her my heater. It's been around 2 years, and I'm back. I guess you could call this half an update, half a new situation. I posted before about my sister and her husband pranking me relentlessly while we were camping together, and I bought a cab-over camper that kept me safe from their shenanigans. I used to not like camping much, but since getting the camper, I've enjoyed it quite well. I had solar panels installed on it and put in a small TV that I play retro video games on. My nephews love the camper too, so much that even my sister and Bill begrudgingly gave up tents last year because of how much their kids said they didn't want to sleep in tents anymore. I guess you could say they were the last in the group to do so. Rather than a cab-over, they got a camper trailer since they have an SUV. Their friends all got campers before them too. Pretty much every single person who was in the yearly tent camping friend group now have campers of varying sorts. It ended up being like a keep up with the Joneses mentality. I got a camper, and then someone else did, and then someone else after that. And now it's all of them. I guess you could say it's more like we're all glamping now, but we love it. Until we hear one of the campers rocking at night anyway. That's when the earplugs come in handy. Even my mother, who previously hated camping and had forced me to go all those times just to babysit the drunks, now has a camper. She got a little one-person teardrop camper that tows behind her Subaru with ease. And she loves a quiet night laying in it and reading her favorite books. She mainly comes along for the sake of my nephews, though, because she kept putting it on me before, and I called her out for it. My sister was initially a bit of a witch about the situation, though. She had some sort of crazy idea that she was in charge when we went camping, and my Bill just went along with it, to which I called him a tool. Well, once the camper craze hit, the following summer it was half campers, half tents, and my sister told me it was all my fault that things had changed. I told her to stop acting like she was half her age and move on. Besides, this only started because I just wanted peace and had to buy a camper just to get it. Had they respected me instead of treating me like a target, maybe things would still be as they were. She tried to argue further, but I threatened to make a spectacle of the situation if she didn't let it go. Later I heard it was quite a scuffle between my sister and Bill when he finally said they needed a camper too. Boy, do I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that. But it worked, because now they have a small camper trailer. An 80s model, I think. Bill bought it with some damage and fixed it up himself. Though unlike me, they don't allow video game systems in their camper. So the kids come to me a lot. Near the end of last July, my sister asked me to set aside time off work to go on one more camping trip in early September before school started for her kids. And I agreed, albeit reminding her that I wanted no pranks done to me. And she made it pretty clear she was still unhappy I'm a spoil sport about it. But what could she do? It didn't end well for her after making my last post. None of the people in the group have tried to mess with me while trying to reclaim their frat youth since they were called out as bullies 2 years ago. Funny thing is, having campers now is actually making them act a bit more their age when they drink. And I'm pleased to say I haven't seen any of them so crazy that they're running around in their underwear and yelling out random nonsense anymore. But they still say and do stupid SHD. And while I don't enjoy those shenanigans, I do like the drinking games, the campfires, the barbecue, the marshmallows, etc. It's a nice escape from my home life. It was getting chilly early last year in our area, with fall making its way in a little sooner than expected. So the last few days before school started, we had mild rain and temps in the mid-60s during the day, and even colder at night. Fine with me. I have a propane buddy heater, so I wasn't cold. But bragging about the heater was what drew in a wild Karen. I'd never before met one on this level. I mostly just read about them online. But by God, she was just like the ones I've heard so much about. She didn't really have the Karen look, though. She had long shoulder-length brown hair, maybe late 30s to early 40s, and was a bit thick. But man, did she have a mean look about her that just made me want to turn and go the other way. The campsite we went to had a small vendor store at it that sold basic supplies and some foods. I rode in on my old MTB and bought a soda. I'd met another guy while out riding on the trails, and he had a crazy bike made out of a vintage beach cruiser I learned was called a clunker. He was very specific, it was spelled with a K. And he told me he builds clunkers for fun out of his garage and gives them away. We were having fun talking about bikes, but then we started feeling the soft patter of rain, and the evening chills were coming in. The guy I rode with said it was going to suck sleeping that night since he was camping in the canopy of his truck. I remarked I'd be warm because I have a portable propane heater, and how I just need to turn it on for an hour before bed and I sleep nice and toasty. Then some lady I'd never met before stepped in front of us and asked me about my heater. I quickly described what it was, how much it was, and where to get one before moving along. But this woman started following me. I locked my bike and then ended up face to face with this lady like when Victor turned and was face to face with the corpse bride. She was suddenly asking to borrow my heater and coming closer at the same time. I got really awkward and tried to get her to let it go, but being polite got me nowhere. The lady kept stepping in front of me and was whining about how it was colder and wetter than expected, and she and her kids couldn't go home for 2 more days. I just told her sorry and ran around her to my camper, but she kept following and was berating me that I have no compassion for a mother. Inside the camper, my 2 nephews were in there playing Mario Kart Double Dash on a GameCube I'd brought, and the woman instantly became furious about my setup. She refused to let me close the door and yelled that I might as well just be at home if this was the kind of camping I'm doing. Then she actually tried to force her way in while yelling something about me being entitled, and had it too good while her kids didn't hardly have anything. I blocked the way in and nearly shoved her out with my foot. Now enter my mother. She's a bit of a Karen in her own right, but most definitely a mama bear too. She saw enough of what happened to interject before I got the chance to push the lady out. My mother yelled at her to get away from her son and grandbabies. The 2 of them had an epic screaming match that my sister soon joined in on, until a few more people in our camping group showed up and began laying into that lady too. Realizing how outnumbered she was, the Karen took off. She didn't bother us again. And one of the guys in our camping group was kinda upset by that because he was keeping a super soaker loaded and ready in case she did come back. I did see the Karen a couple more times around the area, but she avoided eye contact. I did see her campsite while riding my bike, and she had an okay-looking tent, but her kids really didn't look happy. I don't know what her story was, or why she was stuck there. Maybe she was temporarily without residence or something. I don't know. But I do know that she went way too far before when trying to get into my camper. Her problems weren't mine to solve. Sadly, I didn't notice till right as we were all packing up to leave, but the tires on my bike had been slashed. I couldn't prove it was the Karen, but I'm pretty sure it was her. I fixed the bike easily enough. Just needed new tubes and tires. But I was still mad. RIP that bike though, because my neighbor's son who just got his driver's license ran it over last November. It was old anyway. My BIL gave me his old MTB to replace it, and I saved the new tires I bought for my old one to put on it. I waited all this time since the incident to post because I figured my sister would go looking here right away. Don't know whether she did or not, but it's here now.